now have the pleasure of introducing your student government president. Katelyn Sentnor has been on the student government for all 4 of her years in the upper school, last year serving as treasurer. She has also been a member of the varsity soccer team for 4 years and is president of both the Women in STEM and the Surfing Club. So we will get our school year started hearing from Katelyn.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone here. Hope you all had a relaxing summer, and I wanted to say a special welcome back to our graduating class of 2024. Now, I wanted to spend my short time up here to talk about what, in my opinion, is what makes Thayer so special. Contrary to popular belief, it has little to do with the academics in the classes that we take here. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate all that I've learned in the classroom. But for me, the most memorable part of Thayer has been the relationships that I've built. Thayer has so many opportunities for students to take advantage of. And in each new situation, you have the ability to make a new relationship. My classes have allowed me to bond with my classmates over many unique experiences. Nothing brings you closer to a group of people than when you enter the PCH classroom and find pop quizzes hanging from the ceiling. Sports, on the other hand, have allowed me to connect with a whole new group of students. My varsity soccer team bonds over crazy traditions like hauling around random objects from class to class for an entire day. And finally, my advisory has allowed me to create such strong relationships with my advisor, Lombardi, that she's concerned when a group of us are not crowded around her office during break period. True, authentic relationships are what make experiences. They give you someone to talk to, someone to vent to, someone to share and celebrate your victories with, and also to overcome obstacles alongside. So I challenge each of you to form a new relationship this year. Say hi to someone new in the hallway. Try a new sport, just because. Join the fall musical right here in the CFA. Play spikeball in the teardrop with a bunch of new classmates. Go cheer on sports teams during homecoming and the Valicenti Cup. Or just go sit next to a new student at lunch. Don't be afraid of your teachers. Ask questions and stay after class just to talk. If you're feeling extra ambitious, try and pick a debate with Maloney, only if you have at least a half hour to spare. Overall, I've learned a lot in my time at Thayer. But the most important thing that I've learned is to value and treasure the people that make this place what it is. Have a great year, everyone. Thank you.
Good morning. We can do better than that. Good morning. It is good to be with you all today. Katelyn, thank you so much for your thoughtful and wise words today. Welcome everyone to the start of a new school year. Welcome to the start of Thayer's 146th year, which I think deserves some applause, by the way. So, before I begin, I just need a minute or two just to prepare my remarks. Hold on one second. Of school speech for me. Let's see. We'll give it a moment. Ooh. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty, cherished parents, and most importantly, the bright and eager students of Thayer Academy, I stand before you today with a heart filled with joy and a spirit brimming with excitement as we gather once again to inaugurate a new academic year at Thayer Academy. It is an honor to welcome you all to this exceptional institution where excellence in education has been a tradition for generations. You know, it's not that bad. In fact, as I'm looking at it, it sounds a little bit more like me than I care to admit. And I must admit there's a slight temptation, given this is our very first hour of the very first day of the new year, that I imagine many of you are thinking about other things than myself speaking here in front of you today. So it might be a little bit boring, but it could be serviceable. So I'm tempted in some ways just to keep reading. But I'm not going to do that. And I want to share why. While I could keep reading from that very serviceable script from ChatGPT, here's the thing. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be real. It wouldn't reflect what I know about many of you, the relationships that I've had the chance and you've had the chance to form here in this community, the things that make Thayer, the traditions, the values, the things that are important to us. It wouldn't be real, even if it could work and even if I could potentially, although I showed it to you, get away with it. I kind of think about it a little bit this way, and it's an analogy that was shared with me by a Harvard colleague who spent some time with our faculty last week. When I think about what I want to be able to do, or any of you, what I want you to be able to do on this stage, or in a classroom or any other setting here at Thayer, I want you to be able to generate what I think of as sunlight. I want you to take the thoughts and ideas and the curiosities and the creativity, the energy that you bring. I want you to be able to share that. This gentleman who spent time with us used an analogy of artificial intelligence as reflecting sunlight, but actually being more like moonlight. Now, I think all of you know, hopefully all of you know, the moon does not generate any of its own light. It actually is a bit of a fraud. It steals light, it reflects light imperfectly from the sun. And when I think about giving a convocation speech written by ChatGPT, it feels like a cheat. It feels like moonlight and not sunlight. Sunlight brings energy and nourishes us and brings us warmth. And on a beautiful sunny day like this today, sunlight is what I want for all of us and for all of you. And not that we need any more endorsements of sunlight, but I might be able to provide you one. This is Teddy Fortunato. As you can see from this picture here, there is no greater endorsement of what it's like to be in sunlight than Teddy Fortunato enjoying this particular moment. So now this does not mean, as we start this school year, that I'm going to be putting down artificial intelligence or ignoring it. This is now part of our reality and part of our future. The thing is, it's going to be important for us to be able to do is to leverage it, understand it, to use it as a tool, to make sure that we're teaching you all the skills like leadership skills and communication skills and relationship building skills and ethical decision-making skills that an algorithm or artificial intelligence or related technologies can never replace. There's a lot going on around these days about how AI is the boogeyman of the 21st century, how it's going to take away, we're not going to need teachers, we're not going to need to have schools, we're not going to need to have all kinds of things. This is going to take away all the things that all of you do. The reality is that some of that is true. There are some things that an algorithm or a technology will do more efficiently than many of us. All the more reason that we need to make sure that we empower you with the skills and the experiences to be able to move beyond what an algorithm or a computer can do. What it can't do, and speaking about what Katelyn talked about, the sort of superpower here at Thayer. Schools are about things that are personal. They're about relationships, they're about people, and they're about connections. And so I'm actually not worried about AI ever replacing you or this place, because no one can replace you. No one can replace the relationships you're building here and the connections you're building here. I've said this before on this stage, but for people who are new to the community, building on what you have from your family and your friends and the people outside of this campus, everything that you need to find success, to achieve, to find fulfillment and joy and purpose here at Thayer can be found in the people all around you, in this room and on this campus right now. That's real. That's real. And real actually matters. So let me ask you these questions, and from a show of hands, who here prefers to have real, true friends as opposed to fake friends? Raise your hand. Not a shocker. Who here prefers to really understand and learn in a classroom or other place on this campus as opposed to having to fake your way through it? Okay. And who here prefers to be true to yourself and who you really are as opposed to having to pretend to be something that you're not? Okay. I would have been surprised if there were a lot of hands in the opposite direction. What that means to me is that real is not just important to me. Real doesn't just matter to me. It matters to all of us. The things that are real really matter to all of us. And that's why, even though you may connect with one another, hopefully as very much in person as you possibly can, but also whether on social media or other places, you can connect with one another. But that's one of the reasons why your AI chatbot on Snap is never going to be your best friend and never should be a source of news or valid news or relationship advice or wisdom or history, anything along those lines. Just for the purposes of this presentation today, I created a Snapchat account. Please do not friend me. Not that I don't love to have friends, but probably not at this point when you're still in high school. So I named my AI bot after the much maligned, but intentionally maligned character from Star Wars, Jar Jar Binks. And as I look at this here, and so kind, hey, how's it going? What's new with you? I think my response is nothing that I want to share with you. You are a fraud. Oops. Let's see. Okay, all right, so maybe I've hurt its feelings a little bit. But it is a reminder to me that this is not real. As much as it may be a diversion, a distraction, and whether it's Snap or whether it's something else, it's not real. It may be entertaining, but it's not something that really, really matters. And from what I understand from listening to you, real matters to you. So real can be a couple different things. And I think about this on the first day of school, especially right now. So real things that matter could be so great. It's the first day of school. So when Katelyn mentioned the idea of like sitting down with people at the dining hall table and to be your friends and to spend time with each other at lunch. First of all, let me make an endorsement for that act. That could be one of the most profound acts that you ever do here at school. Reach out to someone who is looking like they don't know where to go, don't know who to sit with. The act of asking that person to sit down with you is probably one of the most exceptional, extraordinary things you can do that could change someone's day, week, month, year, whole experience at Thayer Academy. But so real things that matter on this first day of school could be great. People do ask you to sit down, you get to sit with your friends. Maybe you made the varsity team that you'd be hoping to make. Maybe you're just starting your entrepreneurship seminar or your comparative gov class and you're really excited about the material. Maybe for seniors, you're in the midst of the college process and things are feeling really, really good. Real things can be great. But living with that reality and with things that matter can also be really hard and challenging, right? It's the first day of school. I don't think I need to have a show of hands, but I imagine some of you are a bit anxious, nervous about the first day of school. Will someone actually invite me to sit with them in the dining hall? Are my classes are they going to be harder than I've envisioned? Have my friendships changed from over the course of the summer? Will the college process yield all the things I'm hoping for? There's a duality to wanting things that are real and meaningful. There's a lot of high highs, a lot of great moments that I hope you experience today. And there can be sometimes a lot of low lows and challenging moments as well. But in order to get to the things that really matter most, you're going to have to live through a number of those different things. I'm going to use my friend Teddy one more time as an example of the high highs and the low lows. Teddy's an important part of our family. He's loving and wonderful, and when we go through moments of challenge or anxiety, he's there with us all the time. And yet, within a 5-second window of time, as much as he looks so adoring and wonderful and lovely and loves to be petted there too, this can also be the look on his face. When 5 seconds later, after a wonderful session of spending time with our family, he's gotten onto the table and eaten more than a half of an order of Bertucci's. The pizza, the salad, the plastic containers that contain the salad dressing as well, and gone off to the bonus room above our garage and decided to puke on the carpet 12 times after it had just been cleaned. And one $500 vet bill afterwards, when the vet said to me with a lovely patronizing tone, "You really shouldn't feed him so much people food." Yeah. He's reminded me of the duality of that you can have amazing and wonderful things that are real and lovely, and all those things can suddenly change in a heartbeat. So when I think about things that you are looking for, things that are real and things that are meaningful, especially in the school environment, very often what we're going to ask you to do here in order to find success and achievement and to do the things that we want you to be able to do and find success beyond here, we're going to ask you to live through more moments of uncertainty, and you're going to be spending more time with questions than answers. And so that means when you heard Katelyn talk a little bit today about trying something new and trying something different, trying something new and trying something different often means that you may very likely fail. You may very likely not go down the path that you were hoping for. But if you don't try and you don't take those risks, you're certainly not going to make it down that road. Now, in order to also find the things that are meaningful and real and to get there, it requires us to live through experiences that can be rather awkward. Who here has ever had to walk away from a situation because it felt too awkward? Okay. So I appreciate that, and I think that's a pretty human experience for all of us to go through. One of the things that I want us to do better at as a school is to help you sit through and live through and work through awkward. Awkward could be really hard, but if we don't work through the points that are awkward, if we don't work through the questions and the risks and the things that are not guaranteed for us, all those things that we talk about that mean something, that are real, we're not going to be able to get there. It also requires us to be vulnerable. Who here woke up this morning wanting to be more vulnerable? Don't see, okay. I was hoping someone might throw their hand up. Vulnerability, putting ourselves out there in a way that takes risks, that means that we may not achieve and we may not succeed in the ways we want. That could be extraordinarily difficult. But vulnerability, showing people a little bit of who we are, what matters to us, that is one of the ways that we tap into our creativity, into innovation, and to change. But it's extremely hard to do. Now, I was thinking about this before too, like talking about awkwardness and vulnerability, asking you all to embrace that. Earlier this summer, we were working on a convocation gift for all of you. Last year, I think we had the pins, the Thayer pins that we had, that we gave out to all of you. This year, we actually have a new Thayer t-shirt. And as the senior team and I were working on that, I thought this could be a great design for that t-shirt. So all of you are going to be receiving this t-shirt, and I'm hoping that you will wear it with pride as we go to all kind of ISL and other kinds of events. Sound good? Okay, that was a really bad joke. But you are actually going to get this t-shirt. Everyone, I think sometime in the next day, what was that? On Monday, with the different saying, for those who can't read it back there, it does not say awkward and vulnerable forever. It says Thayer, Thayer forever. So, as I mentioned, when we think about the things that really matter and being able to live through awkwardness and vulnerability, one of the only ways that we're going to be able to get there, and I think we do this really well already, but I want us to get even better at it. Actually, I want us to be the best at it. A big part of that is establishing trust. Trust is a really hard thing to build. It's often a very difficult thing to recapture as well once it's been broken. And especially it's the first day of school for many of you. People are new to the community. It's hard on this very first day to be talking about how much trust we've built. But that's the goal and that's the charge that we have if we're going to let you be vulnerable and awkward and have more questions than answers in order to get to the real things that matter. We need to build more trust in our community. So there are 3 things that I'm going to ask you to do. And they're sometimes big and sometimes small, depending on how you look at it. The first thing is being vulnerable and sharing at least part of your story. You know, we do that a lot here. We do that in English classes. We do it in all of our classes. We do it on the stage. We do it out on the athletic fields. You'll hear more about that over the course of this year. TA Talks, a chapel talk program, is starting this year as well. I think maybe a Wednesday or so from now. Being able to share something that means something to you, that you can share with the universe and let people in and be more involved understanding. That's something that we're going to do more and more of here. So last week I asked our faculty a question. and I asked them to write it out or to type it out on their computers. I asked them this question: what's something that you do that fully engages you, that you love to do, that you keep coming back to, even if it's really hard, and even if it's challenging? And so many of you, hopefully all of you, received an index card as you came in, all have a writing instrument. And so before I ask you to go do this thing, I want to tell you what I'm going to ask you to do with it. We're going to take 1 minute, and I'm going to ask you to write down the response to this question or prompt. What's one thing that you love to do, that you keep coming back to, even if it's challenging? Before you write anything, let me let you know this as well. Please put your name on it, because it's going to be shared with all the members of our faculty. And all of our members of our faculty did the same thing last week, and that's going to be shared with all of you. So let's take 1 minute to write that down. Hopefully all of you had an opportunity to write something down. It just can be a few words, but make sure your name is associated with that. So that's number one, to build trust in this community, even in a really small way, to share a part of who you are, share part of your story that will be shared with our faculty, because I'll be honest with you, it's more important to me that our faculty know more about you than know about their content area. Because when I think about how they tap into all the things that you have to offer, we need to know one another to be able to tap into that and build that kind of trust. So the second thing I'm going to ask you to do, not necessarily here right now, is you're going to turn in all those cards before you leave. So now, by the way, for those awkward moments today or other days, you already have a built-in conversation topic. If you have nothing to talk about, you can turn to the person next to you and say, so what did you write down? What activity brings you joy and meaning and purpose that you keep coming back to? And here's the most important part of what I want you to do from there, though. I want you to ask why. I don't want you to just listen passively to what that person said. I want you to ask why and to be curious. We talk so much in school environments about being curious. Being curious not just about subject matters and ideas and opportunities and things that are out there in the world, but being curious about one another, about the relationships that Katelyn talked about that are really the gold of the school. So I'm going to ask all of you, and I encourage you to do this for as many people out there as you possibly can. When you're in the dining hall, when you're walking between classes, when you're sitting hanging out after school, ask people, what is that thing that really matters to you, and why? And take the time to listen, and ideally to share what you think in your activity with them as well. So I asked, because I think it's important for adults to model the behavior that we ask our students to do, I asked a number of our faculty if they'd be willing to come up and share their activity that engages them, the thing that comes back, that they can keep coming back to over and over again, and share just for a moment what that is and why.
So, painting brings me joy. My mother is a painter. My most joyful childhood memories surround sitting with her and watching her paint. Today, I can look at or share her paintings. Many of you in my classes have seen them, and I am often taken immediately back to those magical moments. When I think about my journey as a painter, I can easily extract feelings of fear, doubt, frustration, and oftentimes failure. My personal and emotional connection with painting, when it's paired with the technique and technical side of painting, is not always joyful. In fact, it can be really frustrating. So, what happened? Well, with time, I continued to learn that often overwhelming emotions that do not feel great were and still are always conquered by the joy I feel when I'm painting. I continue to discover new depths to my thinking that I don't realize exist. There's a happiness I feel when I escape into a place of creativity, self-reflection, and calm. These days, I'm constantly wishing and trying to carve out more time to paint. But for now, the ultimate for me is sharing my joy through painting with my students. This collaboration that we share in our space as artists is the most inspiring, and I'm grateful. I just want to share a quick quote. Those of you that know me know that I love quotes. But I found this one, and I think we could all feel it together in this moment. Joy does not come naturally. It's a daily choice. Joy is contagious. When you choose joy, others will feel it, and they will want it too. Thank you all. Have a great year.
Morning, everybody. Happy New Year. There is a Japanese term called Shinrin Yoku, and this roughly translates to English as forest breathing. The idea is to get outside and connect with nature as a form of therapy. I only recently became familiar with this term, but I guess I've been practicing Shinrin Yoku for almost my whole life. Like many people in our society these days, my work requires that I spend many hours of every day typing on a keyboard and staring at a computer screen. And while it's not coal mining, this work can still be mentally and physically exhausting. And the way that I recharge my batteries is by getting outside in the great outdoors. Ever since I was a little kid, I loved spending time outdoors, playing sports, riding bikes, fishing, hiking, swimming. At the end of every workday, I always look forward to a walk with my dog, preferably in the woods someplace, and preferably nowhere near Bertucci's. Whew, dangerous. On weekends, you'll usually find me. Did I just screw that up?
Keep talking, you're good.
Oh, geez, come on, man. Oh, there we go. When I go on vacation, I like to gravitate to the national parks or other places with rich scenic splendor. This photo that you see on the screen here was taken 3 weeks ago at the summit of Mount Baker, which is a glaciated volcano in the North Cascades National Park in Washington State. I'm the short, stumpy fellow, third from the right. The rest of the guys are like-minded buddies of mine, mostly retired military like me. It was a challenging climb, but we had a great feeling of accomplishment once we were done. We spent 3 days on this expedition, which was 3 days with no computers, Wi-Fi, or social media, and it was glorious. When I returned to reality, I had more than 100 emails that had flooded my inbox, most of which I had to attend to with joyless urgency. But I was still on a natural high from my trip, so it wasn't so bad. In conclusion, the next time you need an energy boost, put down your phone and give Shinrin Yoku a try. It could do wonders for your physical and mental health. Thanks.
Morning, y'all. So what brings me joy is puzzles. And I mean jigsaw puzzles, logic puzzles, all types of puzzles, and completing puzzles is what brings me joy. I've been doing jigsaw puzzles since I was 3. My grandmother had me doing them with her at a very young age, and from being an only child, this is what I did on my free time. Eventually, when I got older, my cousin taught me Sudoku. Sudoku is a great thing. If you don't know how to do Sudoku, come see me in Glover and I will teach you. It is a great thing to do on your free time to just clear your mind and figure out where the numbers go. I was able to use my joy of puzzles in an art gallery I completed while I was studying abroad in Ireland. These are the pictures that you see on the screen. I created my own puzzle from scratch, from idea to making all these puzzle pieces by hand with an X-Acto knife. I created my own puzzle of the tiny village of Bolivan. These are pictures I took on my month-long journey that I then put into a whole puzzle, brought to the gallery in Ireland and showcased it and showed everyone what Bolivan was, a small village of 300 people with history and love of the outdoors. And so I challenge you guys to find something that you're able to then create and do on the side as a creativity. I'm a science person. I am not an art person at all, but I was able to use my joy of puzzles and creativity to kind of bring it out and do something that I've never been able to do before. So I challenge you guys to do that. And if you do, come find me. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. Thank you.
All right. Morning. It's so good to see you all. So for me, this is yoga. I've been practicing yoga since I was 8 years old. I started practicing with my mom. It was a way for us to bond together. She spent a ton of time traveling, so I didn't get to see her a lot when I was little, but we were able to connect on our yoga mats. And I was trying to do the math, and I think I've spent close to 6,000 hours on a yoga mat or a yoga rug. If you are a fellow yoga person, 10 out of 10 recommend the yoga rug over the yoga mat. When I'm on my yoga rug, I feel centered, I feel grounded, I feel like I can actually connect with who I know to be who I am at my core. And it's something that I do 3-4 times a week now. And I'm super excited to share that I'm currently working on my 200-hour yoga teacher training certification and mindfulness facilitation certification. So starting this spring, I'll be able to bring this passion, this exercise, this discipline to other people so that they can join me in it.
My activity was surfing, and I chose this picture kind of intentionally. I'm in my full seal disguise out there. This was taken in New Zealand, this beach called Aramoana, about an hour south of Dunedin. It's known for its cliffs, these awesome breaks, sea lions, these rare penguins that actually swim with you while you're out in the water. And I chose not like an action shot, but just me sitting there, because if you've ever been surfing, and if you haven't, you just spend most of the time waiting. You're just there, sitting in the water, moving around, trying to gauge where the next wave's gonna be. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of mental energy. So the reason I come back to surfing is the fact that it's not about the rides, but more so the fact that you get this time with yourself. You have to entertain yourself, to be in deep reflection. But you also have to be present, because you're not paying attention, a wave could come through. Shark might swim underneath you. All these things could go wrong, so you have to be in this double state of mind. I'm naturally a worrier. I like to think ahead on a lot of things. So being out there for a long time, not really good for me, but being present really helps. So I try to tap into that when I get stressed at school. Hopefully you guys can think about that a little bit as well. But yeah, that's my takeaway.
I love being outdoors at night doing photography, whether it's seemingly an endless stretch of beach, a silent dark meadow, or a deep, uncompromising forest like you see up here. I like the planning of it, the execution of it, and just being out in nature. As Mr. Cramer said, I'm also a worrier, and when I'm doing photography or out in nature, I feel more alive, and all of those things bouncing around your head, the daily worries, they kind of just fade away. It's always a little scarier than I'd like to admit, but it's at these times I feel most connected to, humbled, and inspired by just the simple wonder of the universe. And it's not a hobby I didn't pick up until I was well into my career here at Thayer. But I'm fond of this picture because I also combine my love of backpacking with it and set up my camera behind my tent. That's me in the tent. You probably figured that out. And I let it go for a couple hours, and the Earth is spinning underneath us and creating that star pattern around the star Polaris, which I find cool. And speaking of vulnerability, I also remember at that point there was a grunting noise in the trees that stopped, and it turned out to be a cute little adorable porcupine, but at the time, in the pitch black at night, a porcupine seems anything but adorable. So thank you, and let's have a great year.
Thank you to our faculty for sharing a bit about who they are. I encourage all of you to ask them for more information on that. One of the things I've found as being a school leader for the last 10 plus years is that it's really easy to ask other people to do things that are hard. But if you don't, as Dr. McCarthy, who works with us a lot as a scholar in residence, he often reminds me how important it is for everyone to walk the talk and to maybe show as opposed to tell. So I want to share a moment of vulnerability with all of you as well. As many of you may remember last year when I spoke on stage, I talked about the activity that in many ways fully engages me that I love to come back to is composing music. Something that I haven't had a tremendous amount of time of late to be able to do. And it's something that about 30 years ago, I had the opportunity to write a play in college and have it produced before I graduated. And only once since then have I ever, even though I've worked on this music for years and years, ever actually performed it in any other place. And so even though it brings me a tremendous amount of anxiety, actually standing up in front of you and talking doesn't necessarily make me overly anxious. But sharing something that is so deeply and important and personal to me is something that is challenging for me. So I decided that I wanted to do something hard on stage, as all of our faculty have done today as well. And whenever I have to do something hard, one of the things I've learned in my life that's most important is to ask for help. And so with the incredible help of Josette Chenaur, I'm pleased to be able to present to you a song that I wrote for a play 30 years ago that Josette's going to perform. So if we can raise the curtain. And so this is a picture of where the show takes place on the west coast of England. The show is called The Darkest Light, and this is a song called Bright Side from the almost end of the second act, sung by the heroine of the story at a moment of being in the crossroads.
Patience is for the weak, so before the sun joins with the ocean, I've got to write my own story. Rescue him, rescue me. Two sorry drifters lost in their dreams. When can I feel with you the calming of a wish come true? Goodbye tomorrow, farewell to yesterday. Now is my moment. I must seize the day and turn my back on these lies. Maybe then I'll realize there's a bright side to my life. Inside this lighthouse, there's more than meets the eye. The story's not over. I can turn the tide. No, the war is not won. My crusade has just begun. I will save the love of my life with you by my side. There's no odds we can't defy. Don't bother asking me why, for I know that down inside there's a bright side to my
Okay, I'm sweating. Thank you, Josette, for that incredible performance. You'll find in life that you can make something and people can make it better. So thank you, Josette, for making that happen. I have two final thoughts that I wanted to share with you as we go to start this year. So I asked you about sharing part of your story, being curious and asking people why they're interested in the things they're interested in. Here's the third thing that I think is really incredibly important, especially in the day and age in which we live. So it's all fine and good to listen passively to what people have to say, but when you disagree with them, maybe vehemently, emotionally, when it's maybe hard to be in the same room as them because they believe something or think something so different from you, here's the thing I'm going to ask you to do that we're actually going to spend a lot of intentional time working on this year and beyond. I'm going to ask you to stay in the room, stay at the table, or maybe even just come back to the table. We live at a time right now where people disengage from one another and then stay with the people who are just like them or think just like them. And if we want you to experience things that are real, that really matter, in a more diverse society, in a more diverse Thayer Academy, if we're not willing to take those steps to be awkward and vulnerable, to live with uncertainty, then we're not doing you justice or not doing you the service that all of you need in order to find success in college and graduate school and in the workplace and beyond. So that's something we're going to be steering into, leaning into this year, is how do we collectively do a better job, and in my mind, as a school, as Thayer Academy, the best job of teaching you the skill to be able to engage in dialogue with one another in respectful and humane and tactful ways without giving up your beliefs, your opinions, and the things that are important to you. So maybe a final reality check at the end of this conversation as we talked about things that are real. It's amazing, we have approximately about 40 weeks together as we go through this school year. And as seniors class of 2024, you can probably attest to whether you've been here just a couple years or since 6th grade here at the school, time goes by like that. It goes by really fast. We just, I talked about with our faculty last week, a book I read called 4,000 Weeks. Does anyone know what 4,000 weeks refers to? Yeah. Yeah. So it's the average number of weeks in a person's lifetime, about 80 years, over the course, about 50 weeks over the course of a year. Doesn't it seem like that number should be a whole lot bigger than 4,000? So it's just a reminder to me as I read that book or listened to that book, that time goes by really fast and we need to focus on the things that really matter to us. And as Katelyn talked about earlier today, it's the people, it's the relationships. I can't tell you whether you're gonna focus on football versus baseball or this class versus that class or being on the stage or other things. One of the things I can ask you and encourage you all to do, focus on the things that matter. The people in this room, they are the gold of this community. They are the things that are gonna drive you forward in all the things that matter in your lives. So with that, I am grateful to be here among you, grateful for you listening to me and to others over the course of today, and look forward to an incredible school year ahead. Have a great day. The bell has rung. Go off to class. Thank you.